official.
Yeah.
In a minute. That's a cool way to have an apron.
Oh, Colin,
Yeah.
what's the name of your cookbook?
The cookbook's going to be called the Healthy Vegan Cookbook. So, welcome everybody. Tonight we're going to be doing the healthy sauces recipes. This is actually the third healthy sauces class that I've done in terms of different recipes. So this is like the third, the second sequel. What would you call it? So we're going to be doing 4 new recipes tonight that I have not taught in classes in public. So you know the deal for Sutton. I always do the first classes for Sutton before I go out into the world and charge huge amounts of money for it. So tonight we're going to be doing the 4 recipes: the Colonel's Herbs and Spices sauce, which basically kind of broke down the different spices and herbs that they use, sort of similar to like Kentucky Fried Chicken, and make a sauce out of that. A cashew-based sauce, so we'll do that. Healthy version of teriyaki sauce we'll be making tonight. Sun-dried tomato marinara sauce we'll do, and then my favorite is the Thai green curry sauce. I suppose I shouldn't say favorites because they're all good, but that's the one I make a lot at home. So just a couple of notes about the equipment we're using tonight. We're going to be using the blender, high-power blender for all of these recipes. This is a Vitamix, and I should be like the salesman for Vitamix because I always really promote these a lot. It's a really high-powered blender. They're kind of expensive to buy, but you can find them used, refurbished. You can find them on Craigslist, online, eBay. So a high-power blender is really, for the kind of cooking that I do in these recipes, is really the key to being able to make these different sauce recipes. Just because it really, you can blend dates and different things in it that really makes it creamy, the nuts too. Also, we're going to be using a few Instant Pots. These are really just going to be for heating for tonight. We're not using them as pressure cookers. And then also using the food processor as well. So I always say, for all the different appliances that you can get, all the fancy gadgets, this is absolutely my number one, the high-power blender. I use this multiple times a day. It's earned its money over and over for me. The Instant Pots, having a pressure cooker, I use these for a lot of different things, and also the large capacity food processor is also one that I would say, if anything breaks down in the kitchen, it's going to be, I would replace these ones in a heartbeat. The George Foreman grills go down in the basement along with everybody else's. So, the first recipe we're going to do tonight is the Colonel's Herbs and Spices sauce. So this one actually has a lot of different dried spices and herbs that you would put together. So what I would recommend is, if you're going to be making this recipe more than once, and if it's any kind of a regular thing that you want to use, I definitely would recommend pre-mixing the herbs and spices ahead of time, and just you can spoon it out as you would need it. So first, we're going to put in water and cashews, which gives it kind of a creamy liquid base. So we're going to put in 3 cups of water. This is water from my house. That's good. Alright, so I like to use cashews in sauces because it gives it a really creamy consistency, similar to what you would do by putting oil in it. Just using cashews instead of olive oil. It's about 1/5 of the fat and the calories that you would get with oil. So, putting it on top here. This recipe is going to make a lot. So this would be something that, you know, you make the recipe, you use a little bit. Oh, hey. Use a little bit for your dinner, and then you can just freeze the rest, and then use it for later.
Those are raw cashews.
What's that?
Raw cashews.
Yes, these are raw cashews. Technically, there are no raw cashews, because raw cashews are poisonous. So they're cooked a little bit, so they're not poisonous. But I go to Patel Brothers in Shrewsbury. They sell bulk nuts. So this is a 3.5 pound bag. I think they sell it for like 15 or 16 bucks. So much cheaper than buying them in the smaller quantities. Patel Brothers, P-A-T-E-L. And I add 1 clove of garlic. And as always in my classes, as a guy, I have a hard time multitasking. So if you see like I'm talking or trying to follow the recipe, it's a disaster. So if you see anything that I'm doing wrong, then please shout out to me. I won't be offended at all. So I need to put in onion.
What is it you're making now?
I'm making the kernels, herbs, and spices sauce. Oh. Ooh, I was missing some food. All right. Let me just quickly put this in. Thank you. Here's my onions. Yeah, if you're going to make this recipe every time, taking out all of the herbs and spices and everything, then that would certainly take a while to put it together. But like I said, you just pre-measure all the spices once, and then you don't have to do that anymore. All right, so we're going to put in 1/4 of a medium yellow onion. What's that?
You're doing a double, right?
This one is going to be a single recipe.
Oh. You said 3 cups of water.
Yep.
But you didn't put in 3 cups.
Oh, I put in, there's 3.5 cups of water in here.
Oh, okay.
So I put in 3. Nice try.
Well, they only have the water, that's how you know. We know how to shop. You got us confused.
One nice thing too with the Vitamix to use in a recipe like this is that you know, you don't have to really chop everything that much. You just let the blender do most of the work for you. So, and a little bit of this.
You know, I think you're actually doubling the recipe if you put in 3 cups of water.
What does it
Because
say?
the recipe says 1.5 cups of water.
Really?
And you put in a cup of cashews, right?
Yes.
It says 1/2 cup.
You
of
just
water.
started doubling.
Oh, mine's different.
Oh.
Please change that to 3. That's an edit that I did not include in those.
But it'd be the same thing, it should be a double. Right?
Yeah, so you're just making it more liquidy.
Okay.
Cashews, we go to the
Was
one.
that the thing you were waiting?
That's what it was.
I think it was a test.
I think.
Now, how long, if you make extra, could you keep it in the refrigerator or you freeze it or?
You keep it in the refrigerator, it's going to last about 4 days. But you can certainly freeze it and it'll last a really long time.
You don't have to peel that ginger.
Nope. No, with the blender you just put it right in. And then I use some of the jeweled dates.
I can't see fine dates in the supermarket. Are they around now, or is it a seasonal thing?
At Market 32,
Yeah.
they have them over with the nuts. They're in small bags, they're not big like this.
It's dry then. It's in the dry aisle. It's not like
Yep.
refrigerated.
At Trader Joe's, they have containers, large containers of ones like these.
Yeah.
Indian supermarket, they always have them. So just- mason jar. I'm gonna blend together and mix together all of the dried ingredients. So put, smoked paprika. Shake this up a bit.
Yeah. But it's not.
At Market 32, they have a lot of spices in bulk, so that's what I usually do, is just get the bags of them and then refill as I need to here. I use a lot of smoked paprika. Good. Number 3.
No, we just make this.
Does yours say 1 teaspoon or half a teaspoon of cayenne?
One teaspoon.
Oh, I don't know how adventurous you're all feeling tonight, so I might just put in a half.
We're strong.
I don't know, I can handle. Talking about you guys.
We're already dealing with the garlic smell way away.
Alright, so we got 1 teaspoon of sage, oregano, and basil. The reason that I don't put these into the Vitamix is these herbs are better if you use them like this and shake them into the sauce. If you blend it, then it'll change the color of the sauce in a way that you probably don't want to do. All the greens.
Wouldn't it beat the herbs up too much too?
Yeah, yeah. It just turns the sauce in probably all I want. Marjoram, coriander, and black pepper. Marjoram, coriander, and black pepper.
Could you put this on meat? It just says potatoes and carrots. Could you put it on? Oh, yeah. I'm not a vegan, sorry.
No. The answer is no. It will make meat taste disgusting. It only makes vegetables taste good.
Nice.
Okay, so how do you get a meal out of
Yeah.
this, what you say it? To make us meat eaters happy.
It is a sauce that you can use over whatever you want. You know, the purpose of these sauces started as a way to get my kids to be able to eat healthy food. You know, pour this over anything that's healthy and boring, you know, like kale and brown rice, and it makes you taste good.
Sorry. I didn't have chicken or beef for dinner, so it's okay. I had a veggie thing.
This is real salt. This is what I prefer to use. This is, you would have to go to like Living Earth or Whole Foods would have something like this. So this is salt from an ancient seabed out in the Midwest, and so it has a lot of minerals in it, so it's supposed to be healthier. I like it. Put in a teaspoon here. I don't really have very much processed food, generally speaking, which is where a lot of your salt comes from, or you know, most people, that's where they get their salt from, is processed foods. So, you know, there is some salt in these recipes, but, you know, it's pretty much the only salt I ever have, so, you know, as far as like worrying about sodium, I don't really worry. So this is allspice. So, cut this one, shake it up. So normally what I would do at home is to pour all the spices and the sauce itself together into the quart mason jar, and then just shake it up, mix it all together, and then it's ready, and you can pour it on some sauces. So can I have you just dump this out? So, let's see. Do we want to put this in? We'll go for the brown rice. So we're going to be handing out samples of everything and forks. So you can throw away the cups, but please keep your forks so you can try. I don't have enough forks for everybody to be throwing them out constantly. Back in. So roll enough to the spices you want here. So Colonel's herbs and spices are supposed to be a secret recipe, but the internet. Find pretty much anything on the internet. So this is sort of my version. Nobody really knows for sure what the original herbs and spices are as a top secret, but a lot of people will approximate it, try and figure it out. So this is kind of my take on that. Would you mind, please, just rinsing? Just have the rest of that. So if we used half of as much water, then it would be a lot creamier. So you can add water to cashews depending on how thick you want it to be.
But that was 3 cups of water and 1 cup of cashews?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything else is.
If you want it to be thicker and more of a creamy sauce, then you would just use less water. So. I guess the benefits of having a smaller crowd is that you can get through all of the samples easily enough.
I'm surprised it's only 9 people.
Oh, me too. I thought, it'd be a lot more people.
Yeah.
Do you mind? And this is certainly going to make a mess, but it'll be just like my kitchen. That way. So this one, you don't have to cook it. It's stronger if you don't cook it, but it's up to you. If you want it to be a little milder, then cook the garlic and the onion for a little bit.
So that means you cook it before you put it in. You cook it, you put it in right.
See if I can help her.
Cooking, I would just make it a little milder.
I know you laughing. So you're laughing.
All that's left for my lunch. All right. Great. So the next one we're going to do is the teriyaki sauce.
Yeah, if you would, and probably do better with a fork.
This one we are going to double.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
You think there is oil in it?
Yeah.
Which is the peanuts.
The cashews, yeah.
One more thing.
And then
one
yours
more
black.
Oh, that was so good.
Leave the oven. All right. So again, this one makes a lot. I'm going to double this, and then I would just freeze the rest at home.
Oh, which one?
This is the teriyaki sauce. So if you look at the ingredients on store-bought teriyaki sauce, there's a lot of thickeners in it. It lasts, it's one of those things that you buy a jar of it and put it on the door, and it's gonna last, you know, forever, and it never gets moldy. But it should, you know, if it's got fresh ingredients in it, it's not supposed to last for more than like 4 days. It should go bad. So what are they putting in it to keep it so that it doesn't go bad for months and months? So we're gonna make the healthy version, and like I said, you just freeze what you don't need. You know, just put it in little half-pint mason jars, and then you can pull it out of the freezer whenever you don't need it. So, see, this one we are going to cook it just so that it can thicken up from the cornstarch. So, double everything here. This is tamari, which is really similar to soy sauce. Soy sauce is actually fermented soy and wheat and different beans, whereas tamari is just straight fermented soy. So it's kind of more of a pure product. And it definitely gives it a little bit more of a salty flavor. This seems like a ton, but like I said, it takes a lot, so it lasts a long time. I'm going to do, this is rice cooking wine. Mirin is basically Japanese rice cooking wine. So I'm gonna, this is not specifically mirin, but it's the same kind of thing. Yep, you can find this at in the Asian section of the supermarkets. What's that?
Tamari, is that the liquid thing?
Yep, yeah. All right, 2 tablespoons of cashews. Again, this is really more just to simulate, you know, putting oil in it. Gives it some creaminess, like oil would. So I'm going to double it to 4. And then the medjool dates, just like in the kernels, herbs, and spices sauce, the reason that I put the dates in is I'm giving it some sweetness, whereas most sauces usually you would be adding sugar to it. The nice thing with the dates is it's a natural form of sweetener, and it's a sweetener that your body knows what to do with, basically, because there's fiber, so it kind of slows down the absorption of the sugar, so you don't get a sugar rush. Not that you're going to get a sugar rush from teriyaki sauce. It's the healthier whole food version of it, less processed. Putting in 4. I do use a lot of dates in my cooking. 2 teaspoons of molasses, blackstrap molasses. Blackstrap, again, for sweetener, I use dates. The blackstrap molasses is really more for the flavor, the deep flavor that you get from molasses. So,
What's the difference between molasses and blackstrap?
it's supposed to be processed differently so that you get more nutrients. Blackstrap molasses is actually one of 2 kinds of sugar that actually has a lot of nutrients in it, and everything else is just empty calories.
Okay.
So this and date sugar have all the nutrients in them.
So just less processed.
Yeah,
Tastes the same as molasses?
I believe so.
Actually, isn't it kind of a little bit stronger?
Is it?
Oh, okay, I think so. Than like Cosby's or something, grandma's.
Honestly, it's been a really long time since I've had regular molasses,
Oh, okay.
so I'm not sure, but I don't know. From what I can remember, I think it's about the same.
About the same, I think
Yeah. I just remember as a kid, you know, didn't have maple syrup on the refrigerator, and I had to pull out the molasses, like. We don't have chocolate, but we have carrot. So, right. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch or an inch thumb of ginger. Use some here. And like we were saying, you know, if you have the Vitamix, then you can just put it in. You don't have to peel it or anything. You can buy the jarred ginger too, that's already peeled and everything, but you know, this regular ginger will last for a while. It'll last for weeks in the refrigerator, so why not?
Raise it to the can.
Oh yeah. 2 cloves of garlic. Let's see, these are really big, so take it easy on you.
You want to do 4?
Yeah. And then I'll do, let's see, put in, whisk in the cornstarch in this. You don't want me doing this all by memory, believe me. It will not come out. All the fancy chefs on TV, you see, they memorize everything, so they're not looking at their cheating notes, but you don't want
How
to
do you know they're not? They're probably right out there in front of them.
Maybe, maybe. So this is very thin, so we're going to add some cornstarch to it to thicken it up. And also to cook it so it's a little less strong. So if you want to see me multitask, I'm going to work on another recipe and have to stir that at the same time. Disastrous.
On your Vitamix, you got it, I think you said you got it used or something, or did you say if you get it used?
Yeah, this was new when I got it, but
Okay.
you can get it used on Craigslist, you know, a couple $100 usually. Refurbished, you can get them from Vitamix directly. You can wait till Black Friday sale, and they usually sell them for like $2.50, so pretty cheap.
Yeah.
There was one in Worcester I saw on Craigslist that was like $200 last week,
Oh, okay.
so they're on there.
Is there anything in particular, like size or functions or anything?
This is the standard one. What I would definitely recommend is that you would get one that's variable speed, because this has the variable speed knob on it. They sell like the lowest end one. They sell has it has like a couple of different speeds that you can set it to, but it's not variable.
Okay.
So I wouldn't recommend that. On the high end, they have ones that are like pre-programmed and you just has digital. You don't need all that. And with the lid too.
Very good.
To keep yourself healthy in the meeting, do you like batch cook like a day or 2 of the week, or do you just cook everything?
Usually when I'm cooking, then I'm making a double or triple recipe of everything, just so that I can freeze the rest. And so that helps a lot in terms of convenience. So I'm going to add the cornstarch in.
Yeah.
So there's different thickeners you can use: arrowroot powder, cornstarch. This is cornstarch is easy. You don't have to translate it into different amounts or anything like you do with arrowroot or with agar powder. So I'm going to keep stirring this, and we'll move on to the next recipe. We'll have that one. Just want to cook it for like 5 or 10 minutes. Just kind of take the edge off of it. Let's see. And also, you want to cook it enough so that it activates the cornstarch and thickens it up. So this one is the more involved recipe here. So this is the sun-dried tomato marinara sauce. So some of it's in the blender, some of it is in the food processor, and then you cook it. So you could just, go buy a jar of sauce, but how long has it been there? Probably 2 years. And this is all fresh and much healthier. So. If you look on the ingredients of marinara sauce, there's a lot of sugar they add to it, tons of salt, preservatives, all that. Alright, so in the blender, we'll put in half a cup of cashews and half a cup of water. Okay. There's a lot of liquid in the tomatoes also, so I'm relying on that to help to blend it. So if you weren't using a Vitamix, or if you weren't using a blender, then traditionally these recipes will call for you to de-seed the tomatoes. And if you wanted to get really fancy, to peel the tomatoes so you don't have that. But with the Vitamix, blends it all together. No problem. So let's see, we're going to put 3 medium tomatoes in. So don't really have to chop these, just cut them up small enough that will work in the blender. Smell it. Or I can, at least up here. Alright, there's the 3 tomatoes, and then a couple more dates for the sweetness. Helps to counteract the tartness of the tomatoes a bit. So this is actually ready now to serve. I can put it on the hot. Sure. Alright, I'm going to do the dates.
A large quantity of the dates at the town's as well.
Yep, yeah, this is from Sutton Brothers. Yeah, Trader Joe's has containers that are like half that size, and they sell medjool dates in the produce area, so I'll get them there too. Right, so I'll blend this together. So blended up uncooked tomatoes are orange colored, but once you cook it, then it starts to turn red. So we're going to put the rest of the ingredients into the food processor here. So I'm going to have tomatoes.
Teriyaki is excellent. Delicious.
Yeah, as usual, the fresh version is definitely different than the store-bought version. I'm going to put another tomato on here. So as far as the blender goes, you don't need to have a Vitamix to be able to make these recipes. You could use more of a medium power blender like a Ninja or something like that. That'll work. In terms of the the nuts and the dates, you have to soak them first so that they're softer. Too strong?
Really salty.
Yep.
Yeah, why does it taste so salty?
It's all the tamari in it.
Is that what
Yeah, you
It's
can.
not salt, it's like salt?
It's got sodium in it, but
Oh, okay.
I didn't add salt to the
No, I know that.
recipe. You can use water also to cut it if it's too salty for you.
I mean, it tastes like all salt. That's all it tastes.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to put in basil here. Just kind of rough chopping it here. Put in the food processor.
That's part of the same sauce you're making, Colin?
Yep, yeah, the sun-dried tomato marinara sauce. All right, 1 cup of walnuts. The walnuts kind of break down to, it's not supposed to, it's supposed to be like sort of chunky like meat would be. Cup of the sun-dried tomatoes. So I like to use the dried ones and just have them soak for a little while. So let's see. Put 'em in here.
Salt in the water.
Yep. Yeah, just soak them in warm water for a little bit. Soften them up. The sun-dried tomatoes give it a real tangy kind of flavor. Alright, and let's see, we can do half of a yellow onion, which I have here. I'm of the opinion that there's really no such thing as too much basil, but I'll use the whole thing on today. Put in a bunch of garlic into this one. Just going to chop these up just a little bit more. Food processor isn't quite as strong as a Vitamix, so.
You know, what I really like about this is that you go right from scratch, like even cutting things up. I just think it's amazing that you can do that
Yeah,
with us.
to have the appliances do it all for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, but what I mean is you don't come in with everything prepared. It's like, and you're organized.
All right.
And you do it.
I have a list, and I have the recipe,
Yes, well, that's true.
and occasionally I follow it. And then 1 teaspoon of the oregano.
The brand of the processor we have.
This is a Cuisinart. So this is the large capacity version. I much prefer that, so you can throw it all in. You don't have to make it in small batches. Just stop it a couple of times and mix it together. And like I said, this is something that freezes pretty easily. So it works. All right, that sounds good. Back in the pot.
Even the teriyaki one flows pretty well.
Yep. I think this is the only recipe that you use the food processor. I'm Making a liar. No, the next one is not. So we're going to cook this one for a little bit. So it's an orange marinara sauce. Not the most appealing. Sure. Very careful with this. Get this one cooking here. It's a good thing that none of the cameras can see into the pot because it's a very unnatural, bright orange color right at the moment, but it won't be that.
What color, oh, it must turn sort of a red, like a tomato.
Yeah, it'll be more red. It depends on how long you cook it. Here. So it says in the notes here for the recipe, this is a good opportunity to try some spiralized vegetables. You can buy the little spiralizer, little handheld ones. You can take zucchini, it's usually the most popular one. You know, if you have a really good sauce, then you don't really notice so much that it's not noodles, that it's actually zucchini. And it's a great way to get more veggies into your diet.
I got friends that my brother
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
The spiralizer?
yeah, that's a great thing.
I have, but I never use
Peter makes a great zucchini cold salad too,
it. Oh,
and cucumber cold salad. That little book is.
What little book?
Comes with a little book.
Oh,
Yeah,
comes with
it's
a
a
So
recipe.
I have you
Yeah.
rinse that out also. Thank you. All right, so the next one we're going to do is the Thai green curry sauce. So like I said, this is one of my favorite ones to make. This is usually, if you have it in a restaurant, this is usually more of a broth kind of a sauce. It's usually pretty thin. But for this recipe, it's going to be it's more of a thicker sauce. And you know, like all of the sauces that I make, I usually make them as sort of utility sauces that you can pour over, you know, whatever it is that you might have on hand in the fridge. I do have, you know, recommendations at the bottom of what you can pair it with. If you really wanted to have it like a Thai restaurant, then these would be the different veggies that you can use. All right, so let's see, we'll go with the coconut manna right here. So coconut manna is basically, this is creamed coconut, so if you're trying to eat more unprocessed, not using coconut oil is like, I'll back up a minute. Coconut is healthy, but if you strain out the oil, you know, if you process it and squeeze out the oil for it, then you know you're taking something that is healthy and making it really unnatural, and I believe not very healthy for you. So coconut manna is basically just coconut that's been pureed, you know, like peanut butter, you know, something like that. So rather than using coconut oil or coconut milk, I use a little bit of coconut manna, and so I'm using a whole product. So you can get this at, again, like Living Earth or Whole Foods would have this, but also Ocean State, Job Lot, they always have tons of this. So that's another option for you.
I looked at Job Lot, what would it be near?
What's that?
I didn't happen to see, I looked for it at Job Lot, what would it be with?
You can, they have a whole section of different oils in the food
Okay.
section, and they have like a whole section just on coconut,
Okay,
tons of coconut oil, and then you'll find, this is Nativa, is the brand.
okay. Thanks.
So I'm going to use 1/4 cup of this rather than using coconut milk. This is kind of solid at room temperature, so I microwaved it before I came here.
So in recipes that call for coconut milk, I guess, would you use this yourself
Yes.
instead?
Yep. You just don't need to use as much. So like this would be taking the place of a whole can of coconut milk.
Okay. So 1/4 cup equals about.
Oh, this is messy.
Would you add any water to compensate for the difference before?
Yeah, there's the 2 cups of water in the recipe. This is something that usually I would put a lid on at home and put it on lower, but here, as long as you're sitting far enough back, you're not going to get it. So about 2 cups of water here. So about after this, yeah, about 2 cups. None of the quantities in this really, in any of my recipes, are super critical. The only recipes that I see that are like that are Indian recipes. Tend to be very, very specific in terms of the quantities. And then of course, baking, but I don't really do a lot of baking. So 2 cups of water, 2 medjool dates. The dates.
What do you buy the ones with the seed in it, the pit in it? I can't remember what you told us.
These are the ones with the pits, so these would be at Trader Joe's has these. The Indian supermarkets have them. If you go to Market 32, they have the other kind, which is the smaller pitted ones. They're not as, like these ones are kind of gooey.
Oh.
They're not as dried.
Oh.
Once you take the pit out, it kind of dries them out. So there's the 2. Alright, you can use different peppers. Use one dried pepper. Doesn't make it too spicy. And we can see cloves of garlic. Lemongrass. So there's a couple of things that make Thai curries taste like Thai curry. Lemongrass is definitely one of those. So it's not something that you're going to substitute. You can find stocks sold in supermarkets and where the herbs are sometimes. Or if you go to the Asian supermarket, there are a couple in Worcester, and they sell this in huge bulk. So you can buy it once and then freeze it, and it lasts a really long time. So. And then shallot. So shallot is kind of a cross between, the taste is sort of like a cross between garlic and onion. So it's kind of the mild form of an onion.
Is the lemongrass fibrous?
Yes. With this, with the sauce, the marinara sauce, if you want it to be really red, then you would need to add tomato paste to it. That's an option. I don't. Some ginger. So the 3 things that make Thai curries taste like Thai curry are the ginger, the lemongrass, and lime leaves, or you can use lime juice also, but This is kind of a, again, kind of a specialty thing, the lime leaves. If you go to an Asian supermarket, they'll have it. A lot of times in regular supermarkets, if you look in the Asian section, they have jarred lime leaves that are preserved, so you can use them like that too. Or you can just use a lime zest, but that's cheating. I like to use the real stuff. All right, so we got ginger. Put in the lime leaves. And again, lime leaves are something that you buy them fresh and then you can freeze them. So these are from my freezer here. Yep. A zest of 1 lime. And let's see, I have zester. This is a microfine planer. So this works well as a zester. But as I always say with this, the zester doesn't know the difference between a lime and your fingers. So be careful with that. Usually when you zest something like a lime or a lemon, then you want to just get the top part of it off. You don't want to dig too much into the white part, because that's pretty bitter. So you don't have to go too crazy. And a tablespoon of tamari. Salt. I made notes on mine here. Use 1/3 of a cup of basil chopped, and you put that in after it's blended, because if you put the basil into here, then it's going to turn it very green. It's not terribly appetizing looking. Teaspoon of coriander and 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. Here, and cumin hiding on it. So usually what I do for the curry sauce is I'll put this into like a skillet, and then I'll put the veggies in, and then cook the veggies in this sauce for about 10 minutes, just to kind of cook the veggies and they're not raw. What I'd like to do here is I can empty this out. This is the teriyaki sauce here. Empty that out into here. This sauce is ready to be served now. We're still in the orange zone. Yeah. Just use the white saffron. So again, you want it to be really red, you can use tomato paste, but still So I'm going to put this in the jar so that we can cook the green curry sauce real quick. And we can serve that at the end.
Want that rinse out, Colin?
Sure, yeah, that'd be great.
That's delicious.
Everybody else has one?
Except for that lady that went out to clean.
I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lunch for the week.
Like this one?
Once she gets back with that, then I'll, thank you. This is the Thai green curry is a very fragrant sauce. So if you haven't had Thai food before, this is definitely, of the four things, this is probably going to be the most unique flavor to you if you're not used to it. The lemon or the lime leaves are definitely very fragrant. Anybody have any questions so far at this point? I don't have a lot of jokes to tell, so come up with something. Gotta look good for TV here.
Well, I think you really don't miss the meat part of it either. I mean, it really is hearty. And it's all vegetables and spices.
Yeah, you know, there was a point when I was, there was a point where we had food in the pantry, but I come home ready to make dinner. Didn't have anything planned. Like, okay, now what do I make? And I look in the pantry and it's like, okay, I got some rice. I've got some beans that I can cook. I got some like miscellaneous vegetables in my refrigerator that I don't even know what to do with. And it's one thing for me to make something healthy for me, but the boys need to eat, and they're going to be a little bit pickier than me. So I've developed these different sauce recipes to be utility sauces that I can, like something like this. I'd make it, double, triple batch it and freeze it so that I always have this on hand. So, when I come home and I'm not sure what to make, then, it doesn't have to be this list of all these specific veggies. If I want to get fancy, I'd make it just like the restaurants. But, really, these are all meant to be utility sauces that you can put over anything. And the next class that we have coming up is going to be, for Sutton, is going to be the smoothies that taste like Girl Scout cookies. That's going to be in April, I believe, April 10th, I want to say. Yeah.
That doesn't sound local.
I never claimed to be low-cal. Definitely use a lot of nuts. That's, since I finished the cookbook, that's been kind of a bit of a side project for me, is making the Girl Scout cookie smoothie recipe. So, you know, if anybody who's been coming to my classes for a while, they know that I like to make a lot of smoothies for breakfast. And, you know, I like to make smoothies that taste like dessert and not just make boring smoothies. So, you know, try and get a little inventive and have interesting flavors. So, with the Girl Scout cookie smoothies, I took it upon myself to try and copy all 10 flavors of Girl Scout cookies. Some of which are pretty easy, like Thin Mint. You know, it's not too hard to make something like that. But, you know, how do you make a smoothie that tastes like shortbread cookies? That's a little bit more of a challenge, but I've been working on that, so.
Oh, and I have that down as the 10th.
Yep.
On a Tuesday.
April 10th, a Tuesday at 6:30. So I'm going to be, I'm planning on making that as a little mini cookbook. I'm just going to do that on my own. I offered it to the publisher and they said, we don't even know what to do with that. So, so I think I'm just going to, once I finish my extensive research and development process, then I'll be putting those together into a little mini book, and then I'll just have those printed on my own. Alright, so this is ready. And yeah, this is the rice is fine.
Okay.
I've also been working on Thai curry recipes, so I have the green curry and the massaman curry as 2 Thai sauces in my cookbook. And in the book there's 30 different sauce recipes. So I decided to start working on all of the rest of the Thai curries, because there's a slew of them, a whole handful. And they all are very different. So there's yellow and red curry and green and massaman, Penang curry. So I've been working on developing those, and you know, what do you do? But you have to go to the Thai restaurant a lot. Research that.
It's an awful chore, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like the Girl Scout cookies. It's pretty awesome having to research that.
Sweetie, what, can you tell us where the fireworks restaurant is? Or is that a secret?
Oh no, I mean I like all the ones that I've been to, really. I haven't been to one that I would say.
Is there a close one? I haven't been.
Probably the closest one to here is Racha Thai in Auburn,
Oh, okay. We're on.
across from where White City used to be. I mean, no, Shrewsbury.
Yeah, that's-
From the fair, where the fair used to be.
Oh, okay. The Fair Plaza?
Yeah,
It's across the street?
yep,
And that other.
yeah, right near McDonald's.
Like behind it, like.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You did
Yeah,
Divine Time,
Divine Time
Whitensville.
in Whitensville. Yes, I have been, and that's very good. Yep. Yeah, there was one in Millbury, but I don't know, I
I think
went,
it was closed.
yeah, the last time I went, they were closed, so. Oh, yes. And thanks for leaving plenty for me. Great. The boys are coming over this weekend, so help. So I always like to do a poll at the end. Which is the sauce that everybody likes best?
I like this one.
Yep.
I like them all, actually.
This one and the sunrise.
Okay.
The sunrise is good too, yeah. I like them all.
I like the teriyaki, but it seems too salty. If I didn't do the or whatever, tamara,
The tamari.
tamari.
Yep.
I said it right, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, you
That's the
can cut
salt
it.
part, right?
Yes, yeah, you
I
can
like
cut that
it, I
with
like it.
water.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
What was the mirror?
Because I like the taste of it, it just seems salty to me.
That was the Japanese.
That's the rice wine.
Oh.
It's a sweet
the rice.
rice wine. Yeah.
Huh? Let's go.
Yeah. It's good.
Ooh, that was spicy.
It's good, yeah.
But it's good, I like
Yeah.
it. Get to it.
That's the thing with all of the Thai curries, is they're all pretty spicy, but red curry is red because of how much pepper is in it. And so that one is,
Really?
yeah, turns my insides molten, but it's good.
There's a lot of ginger in here too, that'll give it
Mhm.
spice.
Oh, yeah.
That would kill it.
Yes.
All right, so I believe that is it for tonight. We even wrap up on time. So thank you, everybody, for
Oh,
coming.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can hear everybody scraping the back last little bit.
On Tuesday night, I did a Chips class,
Let me take your trash.
and I had everything in the containers, the tubs next to me as I'm driving home, and I could smell everything, and I didn't want to make a mess in my car, so I was being good, and I behaved, and I waited until I got home. It's amazing. It's just one red dried chili pepper in that whole
You
thing.
can have mine.
As a kid.
Yep.
Thank you, thank you. Have it all. I like the thing I'm waiting on.
And where do you buy the cashews in bulk? Where's the best price?
Patel Brothers is going to have the best price.
Yeah.
Patel Brothers. If you get the bag, I think you can get bulk cashews at Whole Foods maybe. They might have those in the bulk section,
Yeah.
but it's going to
Is
be
it pricey?
Now, where exactly is Patel Brothers?
It's in Shrewsbury, up on the hill, right near the Worcester County Food Bank, across the street from where Stop and Shop is, where Borders Books used to be.
Okay. Thank you.
It's now infected by a Queen's place, I believe. Pam, are these available online to be able to watch, or is it just on the TV?
It will be, if you go on the town's website, I
Yeah.
mean, it will take a couple of days,
Yeah.
especially with the holiday, but
For now.
Right.
you have to click on public programming, but then it will be there.
Okay.
On your home party classes, Colin,
What's that?
home party classes,
Yep.
what do you charge?
What I do for the home party classes is it's $25 a person with a 5-person minimum. So it's a lot more informal, and people can choose whatever they want. Like the last home party that I did, they wanted a Thai class, so I did like masaman curry. I did a Thai larb salad. I did Thai iced tea, and let's see, yeah. So I mean, you can choose really whatever you want.
That's gonna be great for you.